Issue 87. Sonic wonders how he could get home with the Omnivore out of action and no star posts. Surprisingly, in retrospect, this starts a story arc that's of a reasonable length. I don't think he comes home until like issue 99 or 100. That's an impressive change to the status quo for this comic, where Sonic spends some time in the Special Zone with the Chaotix. Archie never did that. But yeah, Sonic wonders how he could get home. I'm sure a Deus Ex Machina will come up. After he hopes that his friends are doing okay without him, he hears someone screaming for help and runs down the side of a kid's building, with the kid being called a liar by his mom about it because he's a pathological liar. Already. He rescues someone from being hurt by a ray gun by catching the bullet in midair. Because Sonic was wasting time introducing himself out of egoism, this gave the Purple Man time to remove his clothes and reveal himself as Mr. Shifter, a shape-changer from the Black Zone. He's told that he's made of radioactive metaclay that can be hardened to the consistency of concrete, and he can also soften himself at will, making Sonic just jump harmlessly through him because internal organs are for suckers. I'm guessing he's a ghost that possesses his body too. I mean, this is certainly a creative concept for a Sonic film. The man says that if he hadn't stopped that robbery, he'd have left the city alone. I guess this is going to make people turn on Sonic instead of get that he's normally a hero. He punches Sonic as his feet are stuck in him, and Sonic thinks that he can't take much more of this, admitting to himself that he actually is having a moment of weakness. Then he grabs his arm and vibrates him at Sonic speed in a creative use of his power that makes the monster motion sick. Sonic taunts him again that he's made of plasticine, and the man once again says he's not made of it in a sad attempt at a joke by the comic. Sonic says that this is reminding him of how he used to play with plasticine as a kid. He would see how far he could stretch it before it would break. And he ties him around a streetlight as a result, justifying properly why he knows how to do this because of the childhood memory. After tying him around several streetlights, he complains that he didn't get a thank you, rather than understanding why she should run for her life since he has an ego. It turns out that the one he saved was Eggman's spy, who warns him that the Special Zone forces are too powerful for an invasion right now. Oh good, he doesn't yell at her or hit her for bad news. In the next story, only the Mobian Prairie stands between Knuckles and Metropolis and the hope of returning to the floating island. And what kind of a name is Mobian Prairie for a planet called Mobius? Is this the only prairie in the entire universe? And this kind of name would only make sense for aliens to Mobius to name it. It's like naming a place Earth Prairie. Then Knuckles hopes that everything's okay because he was away from the island he's the guardian of for a while. Wait, what? Did I skip an issue? Last time, it ended with Eggman taunting him in the brainwashing issue, and we never get to see him get away. It kind of feels inconclusive. The ground starts shaking, and the Marxio brothers lead a stampede of green pterodactyls over him. They assume he died, but they're forgetting Knuckles could drill into the ground. Oh, they're referring to a chicken man who said that he found some cover just in time, and he wonders what made the stampede happen in the first place. Then they all see Knuckles, who is blamed for causing the stampede arbitrarily, and ask if a villain sent him to sabotage their herd. Knuckles gets shocked by a prod, and only a few of them, like the rooster, says that maybe they kind of sort of are blaming the wrong person. The story ends with Knuckles being kidnapped by a pterodactyl to be taken to the sheriff. I mean, this is the fantasy universe, so I'm not going to question the pterodactyl being here. In the next story, Tails sees someone being threatened by robots while he's flying and saves him and throws a bomb badnik into the water. Then he immediately gets grabbed by a robot and his life is threatened, and the person he was trying to save tells him to let him go and use his blue magic to save him, firing an energy blast from his hands. It figures he's not from here. He says that he can grant Tails a wish for helping him, and then Tails wished that all of the major villains like Robotnik and Grimer would be gone for the rest of their lives. No, of course not. That would actually be helpful and end the series too anticlimactically. And yet Tails honestly isn't sure what to wish for. He asks for the world to be free of Eggman, and then he gets warped into a building and he's holding a gun, being told that he has a chance to destroy Eggman in front of a crowd of people who would be traumatized by seeing it. Of course the idiot hesitates. I mean, couldn't he at least ask for a different method to get rid of Robotnik than one that would traumatize a whole bunch of people? Like him being in a coma? Or being in another dimension? This is officially the worst genie ever! Why couldn't he do the deed himself? You'd think the genie would be able to snap his fingers and do it. The absolute moron didn't choose to free the world, and he's told that he was just shown an illusion to test him. And I'm given an absolutely sickening bullshit moral lecture about how Tails, if he had saved the world from the evil Eggman, would have been just as evil as him. Never mind the fact that Tails putting down one monster wouldn't mean that he put millions of people into badniks, or menaced them with robots, or took over the world and put out reward money for the capture of heroes who are perfectly good people. Never mind the fact that Eggman is an egotistical, self-absorbed prick who tries to pollute the world to death. What an absolutely terrible message. Does that mean that, like soldiers have to kill people, policemen sometimes have to kill people? Does that mean they're just as bad as Eggman? What kind of fucked up morality is that? All or nothing, form, black and white. This the kind of morality that psychologists say you have a problem if you don't get past that when you get older. This story never should have been published in the first place. Why even give us the story if it's obvious Tails won't do the right thing with the wish anyways? It would be too anticlimactic to get rid of Robotnik that way. The story ends with the cunt vanishing without even telling him which zone he was from. I just assumed he was from the Nameless Zone, but if he was, he'd know Tails wouldn't try to hide it, so maybe he's from the Special Zone. After that story, where I wanted to punch all the characters involved, we move on to a story showing that this really is Future Sonic, and Sonic immediately dismisses it as a trick, still being genre savvy. Still appearing wrong genre savvy. I mean, it does make some sense, I guess. Why couldn't Eggman take his DNA and age up a clone of him to trick him? Amy reasons with Sonic that he should hear Future Sonic out, and Sonic explains that this kind of thing's happened before and accuses him of being Manmorphia. Tails then says that she had lost her shapeshifting powers, even though he blatantly saw her shapeshift after losing them. So I guess he's lying to cover for her, because he thinks they'll go after her, assuming she's still evil. Sonic says that Future Sonic's story will be good for a laugh. If you're sadistic, maybe. Future Sonic says that it all started when he was younger, when Eggman unleashed a weapon that drilled into the streets of Candlewick Green Zone. We see Johnny wonder if that thing's armed, as Short Fuse is there, and Sonic, who looks the same age as he does now, tells his friends to attack because it's just a big drill. This had gotten all of his friends vaporized. I'm not sure if the comic would have the guts to have this be an actual thing that could happen in the future without prevention. Is this really a fake Sonic? Is he from a different dimension entirely? Does he have fake memories? Sonic was so shocked at what happened that he offered no resistance when the troopers grabbed him, and with no one to stop him, Eggman turned Mobius into an even worse place. And Sonic became a prisoner of Eggman's for many years, and he only escaped with his final attempt. Sonic arrogantly insists... Wait, how did he escape? Never gonna learn that? Sonic arrogantly insists that he would have never made that mistake, saying that he'd never put his friends on the line, even though they're freedom fighters who would put their lives on the line literally every day. Future Sonic explains that he went back in time because he ran fast enough. I don't blame Sonic for dismissing that as a load of horseshit, since Future Sonic didn't explain that he went to Miracle Planet and used a time travel thingy. Future Sonic leaves with the heroes without Sonic there and says that they can destroy Eggman's deadly machine before it would be finished. Sonic decides not to go with his friends and try to protect them from the guy he thinks is a fake, because that would make too much sense. Future Sonic says that there's an underground factory building the drill machine, and then the comic starts with the clumsy foreshadowing, because Amy says that this feels wrong somehow out of nowhere. I guess she's psychic. And Tails says that the Future Sonic hasn't called him Pixel Brain yet. I thought he did! He could have just grown past that and realized he was wrong. I'm guessing we'll get a stupid plot twist. Future Sonic says that he can get past a dead-end wall of rock with a spin attack, and the story ends with a really dumb-feeling plot twist that Future Sonic works for Eggman now and had led the heroes into a trap. So he must have been brainwashed by Eggman in the future, if he really is Sonic. Well, I mean, this is an interesting idea, but it wasn't foreshadowed at all except at the very last minute, where Amy doubts him out of nowhere, and Sonic was accusing him of being a fake future him, only once saying he was working for Eggman. So he was always seeming to be portrayed as wrong. I wonder if this plot point was thought about literally the last second. Also, if this really is Future Sonic, then this gets contradicted later by what becomes of Sonic in the future according to Silver. I'll say no more about that. The first two stories are by Nigel Kitching. In the first one, Sonic defeats a Special Zone supervillain by tying the Elastic Man to a bunch of streetlights, and then it's revealed that the person he saved was a spy for Eggman. It was a creative villain. In the second story, Knuckles gets arbitrarily accused of causing a stampede and is kidnapped to be brought to the sheriff. That wasn't fun. The third and fourth stories are the loose stringer. The third story was about... oh god, I'll put this off. The fourth story was about future Sonic being revealed to be Sonic, but also leading the heroes into a trap for Eggman. This better be explained. Otherwise, it's stupid. And now for the shitfest that was the third story. It's Tails being given a moral lecture by a random magical person who needed Tails' help for some reason. With the genie lecturing Tails that horrible evil monsters like Eggman should be allowed to live and keep causing trouble. And his complacency in that makes him a good person, apparently. The way that Tails was phrasing that wish, there was room for interpretation. He could have changed the wish so that Eggman simply went to a coma for the rest of his life, so that he never caused trouble again. He said that he wished the world was free of him. That doesn't necessarily mean I want to kill him, myself. That could also mean other things. Instead, we have an absolutely brain-dead story that just enrages me at Tails turning down a chance to save the world from Eggman once and for all, just because he doesn't want to make himself feel bad. He's gonna be personally responsible for everything he'll do after that point, just like Sonic. Not sure if they... I mean, at the very least, this was all just an illusion, so even if he did pull the trigger, it wouldn't have defeated him. Tails could have wished that Eggman would become good instead of making me feel like he wasted his wish on a judgmental, self-righteous prick who would choose not to grant it. Even Archie handled the genie concept better because it was a literal genie making the wish granting make more sense, and there was a creative twist where he put Sonic Speed in his dog for a while for saving him, and Sonic had to force him to make him grant wishes. So because he was such a disobedient, rude genie, it makes sense that he didn't save the whole world with him because he couldn't. Here, Tails... it would have made more sense for Tails to have a naive wish where Eggman became good, since he's a sweet and adorable little kid, rather than making a stupid wish.